We live in a world that is louder than ever, a constant stream of opinions, frustrations, and complaints. It's easy to get swept up in it all, to focus on what isn't working, what feels unfair, or what could be better. The language of complaints is seductive. It feels good in the moment to vent and to share our struggles. But what if there's another way? What if, in place of constant complaining, we could redirect our energy into action? If you've been waiting for the right moment or the perfect circumstances, perhaps it's time to stop complaining and start doing. Every day, countless people begin with a litany of complaints. The weather is too cold, the job is too demanding, there's never enough time, and on and on. These complaints may feel justified, but they rarely move us forward. Instead, they become shackles that bind us to a place of inaction. The truth is, while venting might provide short-term relief, it changes very little about our actual circumstances. So, what does it take to move from complaint to action? It starts with a mindset shift. Consider each complaint as an alert, a flashing light indicating that something isn't right, that something needs to change. Rather than seeing them as dead ends, view complaints as starting points. When you hear yourself thinking, "I don't have enough time," instead of spiraling into frustration, pause. Ask yourself, what can I do right now to make better use of my time? When you notice yourself grumbling about your health, consider what small action you can take today that moves you closer to feeling better. This mindset shift is more powerful than it may appear. If you look at those who achieve the most, whether in their careers, personal lives, or creative endeavors, you'll notice a trend. They act. They may acknowledge the challenges they face, but rather than stopping there, they pivot quickly to problem-solving and experimentation. They become doers rather than chronic complainers. But understand, becoming a doer isn't just about taking random actions for the sake of busyness. It's about purposeful movement, taking the step that you can take right now, no matter how small. Maybe it's making that phone call you've been putting off, starting that workout, or simply jotting down a plan. Each action builds momentum, and with each completed step, complaining feels less and less necessary. The act of doing generates energy, clarity, and motivation. It's self-reinforcing, creating a positive cycle where progress becomes the new norm. Some believe they need to wait for inspiration before they begin, but often the process flows the other way. Action breeds inspiration far more reliably than inspiration breeds action. The simple act of showing up again and again sets you apart from the crowd who remains stuck in endless circles of complaints. Inspiration tends to visit those who have already begun the journey. Of course, it's important to acknowledge that not all complaints are trivial. Some point to real systemic challenges or personal hardships. But even here, the principle remains. Action, however modest, is often the most empowering response. You don't have to solve everything at once. Sometimes, the doing is as simple as asking for help, seeking advice, or making your voice heard where it matters. The key is to focus on what is within your control and to direct your energy there. Consider, too, the environment you cultivate, both internally and among those around you. Complaining can be contagious, poisoning the atmosphere of a family, a workplace, or a circle of friends. But so can action. When one person decides to stop lamenting and start doing, others are often inspired to follow. You can be the spark that turns a stagnant group into a proactive team, the influence that shifts a culture from resignation to resilience. Let's apply this to everyday life. Maybe you're frustrated with your job. Rather than just complaining to colleagues or family, start identifying aspects you'd like to change. Can you offer a new idea, learn a new skill, or approach a problem from a fresh angle? Perhaps you're unhappy with your health. Instead of focusing solely on what's not working, commit to one healthy change a week. Drink more water, take a daily walk, or prioritize sleep. If the news leaves you feeling helpless about the world, pick one cause you care about and find a way to contribute, whether through donations, volunteering, or spreading awareness. The beauty of action is its cumulative power. One small step may seem insignificant, but multiplied over weeks and months, it can yield profound results. Each act of doing chips away at the barriers that once seemed daunting. Over time, you realize that you are capable of far more than you thought. There will still be tough days, moments when the obstacles seem too great, or when progress feels invisible. It's crucial in those times not to fall back into the habit of complaint, but to stay anchored in movement. Even if your best on some days feels less impressive than on others, consistency matters more than occasional bursts of effort. You may find that as you practice doing, your complaints naturally decrease. This isn't because you become blind to challenges, but because you develop a sense of agency and optimism. Problems seem more like puzzles to solve than prisons to lament. This shift doesn't just benefit you, but can ripple outward, influencing friends, family, and even your broader community. Remember, the world is shaped not by those who only identify what's wrong, but by those who dare to take the next step and do something about it. The difference between where you are now and where you want to be is bridged by what you choose to do next. So the next time you catch yourself in a loop of complaint, pause. Take a breath. Then, identify one small action, one thing within your reach. It doesn't have to be perfect or grand, it just has to be a beginning. Over time, these beginnings compound into transformation. Stop complaining, start doing, and watch as your life begins to change, moment by moment, step by step, with every bit of progress you claim for yourself. The power has always been yours. It's time to use it.